Today we're going to be going over some great fall fragrances that are pretty much foolproof. They're super easygoing. You really can't go wrong with any of these. I think these are all very blind buy safe if you're into that sort of thing. You know, they have a good price point, good quality, great mass appeal, compliment factor. For the most part, these are all pretty good performers. And the main focal point for the most part with this video was going to be that price point. At least we're keeping out of the niche territory here. Now, there are a couple of these that'll go up over $100, but you'll find a lot of these are under the $100 price point, making them within reach if you wanted to kind of pick one up on a whim, so to speak. Because really the time is now. If you're wanting to wear some fall fragrances, you probably should be doing it because it usually pretty quickly goes from fall to winter. At least here it does. I could be just speaking for myself in my particular region, but it usually goes from nice, comfortable fall into, below freezing temperatures almost at the flip of a switch as we get, further into upcoming December and things like that. It cools off quickly. So now is the time where I'm really focusing heavily on my fall-oriented scents. So I'm going to link all these down below if you're wanting to do some shopping. Make it super easy for you. Let's get things kicked off with Herrera Bad Boy Extreme. This stuff is incredible. It's worlds better than the original. And while I like the Parfum, I think it's better than the Parfum too. This one's got cacao, plum, patchouli, incense, tonka bean, olibanum, I believe a little bit of myrrh or maybe opopanax or something, some sort of like a resinous sweetness, and then the smokes, some of the gourmand notes, patchouli, all of that stuff that I just listed off. I don't know about you, but that note breakdown looks like perfection to me. I love all of those notes, and when they're all being used together, that's kind of just like, okay, take my money, give that to me, I want to try it right now. And that's really what my reaction was when I saw this one announced. It was like an immediate want. And even over the past few years of owning this one and being able to wear it, it hasn't let me down. It hasn't made me feel bored while wearing it. It's a really, really solid, diverse scent. And the reason why it's so surprising to me is simply because the original Bad Boy is not all that exciting. It's very generic. It's something you've smelled a million times, it feels like. Nothing to write home about. Now, as far as just getting compliments and smelling good, it's going to do that really well. But for not a whole lot more money, you could get something like this, which is just infinitely better. Better performance, better quality, a lot more unique. And I think that uniqueness works in favor to the compliment factor because this is something that smells different and kind of goes against the grain. It is still going to be a scent DNA that is widely accepted all over the place, so it's not something daring or challenging, but it's just different enough to make it stand out and to make you smell a bit more unique. We're going to go for something even more affordable up next. We have Vince Camuto Tera Extreme. It's got vanilla, rum, tonka bean, and cinnamon. So I think you're looking at around $30 to $35 for this one. They do have testers, and I believe they come with a cap, and so that can save you some money. One thing I always like to point out is the detail is really nice for the price. If this was $80, $100, I wouldn't think twice about it. But you do have kind of some stitching going on the backside for the leather, and then even on the cap up here, you can see where it's joined together too. It's just... It has more of a premium look and feel, even though it is essentially about a cheapy price. And so I think that's something worth pointing out because presentation is relatively important. You see a scent before you smell it, right? And so if that presentation looks cool on the listing picture, you're more likely to give it a try. And first impressions are everything. Even when you get this bottle in and you open it up and you hold it for the first time, everything about this just kind of adds to the experience in a good way versus other fragrances in this price range that really don't have that attention to detail. Nice gold accenting as well here on this one. It just looks really nice. And that smell is great too. Now, I already listed off the notes. Typically when you see a note breakdown like that, you might expect something a little bit more daring or a little bit more heavy than what this one is. So even though you see those notes, This is still pretty subdued. It's pretty mild. It's not a hardcore boozy scent. It's not super strong. It's not even necessarily super heavy and sweet either. I mean, it is sweet, but it's very much dumbed down and designer level. And I think that's a good thing in this case, because you could easily take this same idea and have it executed by a niche brand, and now you have something that is a lot more challenging, maybe more difficult to pull off, maybe doesn't connect with the same amount of people. But this one, still very easygoing. I don't think you're really going to find anybody that thinks this is horrible smelling. It might not be everybody's favorite, but it's very safe. And at this price point, definitely something worth checking out if you are on a bit of a budget, but you want something a little bit more unique. Now, this next one is going to be the most expensive scent in this video by a pretty good margin. So something to keep in mind there. I will say this one is worth a try, especially if you missed out on the original that is no longer around, and so they re-released it. You guys will know what I'm talking about here in a second. Dior Homme Original, you know, at one point it was Dior Homme, obviously, and then Dior Homme 2020 came out. So right around that time, they took away Dior Homme, but then they came out with Dior Homme Original. So this is Iris. It's really just a bit fresher than Dior Homme Intense. Still using the Iris though, and I do find it to be perfect for fall. Of course, you can wear Dior Homme Intense in fall as well. I think it's better suited for winter. I like the just easygoing freshness of this one for the simple fact that sometimes on a fall day, it might be warm. The sun might come out and it might start to get up to 60, 65 degrees, maybe even 70. This one still has enough freshness within range to where 70 degrees and sunny, you're not going to be miserable with this. With Dior Homme Intense or Dior Homme Parfum, that's getting pretty warm for that stuff. And so I like the fact that this one will work good when it's, 40 degrees when you're waking up in the morning and leaving. And if it ends up getting up to 65, 70 and sunny later on when you're heading home, this one still is going to work for that scenario as well. It just has a lot of versatility within that range. So again, the only downside is it's just a bit more expensive. It's harder to find. Something that sucks, but nothing we can really do about it. Now you can try this one before you buy if you don't want to buy a full bottle. We can hook you up, chaosfragrances.com or decantcenter.com. Same place, takes you to the same place there. And we got samples of this one available because it is a decent sized commitment, but that will give you an idea if you like it or not. Burberry Hero Parfum. This one's got amyris, cedarwood, and cypriol oil. Really though, it is wildly focused on the cedarwood, and it's a great cedarwood scent with not a whole lot else really. So I mean, that is kind of the main thing here. Cedarwood, earthy, kind of spicy, strong, with a little bit of an oily sweetness to it from that cypriol oil, which kind of can give off a little bit of a resinous green type of smell, which is a little bit strange, but within the context of this scent, it works. And it doesn't necessarily give off like a pine tree smell, but it almost kind of has that feeling, so to speak. Like it doesn't smell like pine needles, but it has that type of texture or that idea to me. The way it mixes with the cedar wood here, that's kind of what it makes me think of when I smell this. It's just being in a forest, with plenty of mature trees. It's kind of what this one has going on. So it's more of a refined, older school style scent given the heavy focus on the woods here rather than focus on a whole bunch of sweet notes, which is very common these days. So if you want something a little bit more traditional, but in the footprint of a new scent, this is it, because it is a modern twist on a more mature woody scent, which isn't all that common these days. It's popping up on discounters here and there. You're looking at around $100 or so. Not a cheap option. The price will come down with time. The Eau de Parfum is great as well. And I think that one could easily be in this video too. And it's a bit more affordable. That's an option as well if you want to save a bit of money there. That one also focuses heavily on cedar wood. And I believe in that one they have 3 different types of cedar wood they list off there. So, that kind of gives you an idea of what you're working with. It actually might even be vetiver that they use a lot in there too. Maybe it's 3 different types of vetiver. I don't know, one or the other. The marketing team was busy on that one, but it's still a very woody scent through and through. For me, depending on the day, is depending on which one I like better. Right now, I'm kind of liking the Parfum because it's the newest one. But again, the Eau de Parfum is also very good and worth trying. Dolce & Gabbana, the one, Eau de Parfum. You could not get a safer tobacco scent than this. Tobacco and amber with a touch of grapefruit off the opening. You know, you can try before you buy. This one is available in most stores all over. Macy's, Dillard's, Sephora, Ulta, all of those big ones, right? And all of the malls and standalone stores all over the place. I'm sure you could find Dolce & Gabbana, the one, at any of those, right? Saks, Fifth Avenue, whatever. So if you want to try in person, you can do it. If you want to try online, you can do it. We carry this one. People hardly buy it because most know what it smells like, but it is an option. A lot of people probably just buy the bottle. Now, it used to be more affordable than what it is now. You can get testers for $70-ish, full presentation for about $80, and this is on discounters, and sometimes maybe a bit less than both of those depending on where you're shopping. It used to be $50 all day long. Those days are no longer. But it's still, in the grand scheme of most designers, you know, reasonable. And I think it's still worth every bit of $70 to $80. Again, it is one of the most complimented, best date night scents, one of the most wearable, easygoing, safe tobacco scents that you can kind of dabble with as well if you're trying to get into a bit of a sweeter style of men's scent, especially if you're coming from primarily freshies like what I was doing about 7 years ago. I started out with all freshies. This was one of the first sweeter scents that I got, and it was just like a whole new world opened up for me. I was so impressed. So I think this one, while most people already have it or at least have tried it, is still worth a mention because even today, about 9-10 years later, I think, for the Eau de Parfum, what is it, a 2015 release? The Eau de Toilette would have been a couple years prior. You know, so even that amount of years later, it's still, without a doubt, a no-brainer pickup that I think every guy should have in their collection. So just because it's popular, just because it's getting older, or maybe it's not as trendy as it used to be, don't let that stop you. It's one of my favorite designer fragrances ever, still to this day. Now this next one's about $40 or so. You can get like testers and unboxed for around $40. You can get standard new full presentation for about $50 to me. Get the tester or unboxed. It's $10 of savings for the same exact product. It's Paco Rabanne Pure XS, just the original one. Pure XS Night is a favorite of mine, but you just can't get it anymore. If you can get a bottle of that for a good price, do it. But Pure XS, this one, it's all about the sugar, the myrrh, the vanilla, the liquor, the tonka bean, a little bit of fir resin in here. It kind of has this fizzy cola, sweet gourmand smell to it, which is absolutely addicting. I've talked about this one a lot. Wasn't the biggest fan of it when I first got it in several years ago, but there's something about it that's just fizzy and bubbly and delicious. It's just so good. I love this stuff. Another one that is probably a little bit easy to overlook because it's a Rabanne and it's, typically the brand maybe isn't viewed in the best light as far as uniqueness is concerned. But honestly, I think for what it's worth, it's relatively unique. There isn't really anything else out there that smells like Pure XS. It kind of does its own thing here. And if this was $100 or something on discounters, I probably wouldn't be as enthusiastic about it. But $40 to $50, it's a really good purchase at that price, and it's perfect for fall. This is by far the best season for it. You can wear it as it gets colder. I think there are better options that hold up better in the excessive colder temperatures. Of course, that's also dependent on your location. It gets well below freezing into single digits here. This just doesn't work in those type of temperatures. But in fall, when you're looking at 40 to 60 degrees, that is prime time for Pure XS. Missoni Parfum. Is this a fall scent? I mean, To me, it's kind of either spring or fall. I wouldn't wear it in winter for the same reasons I said there a second ago. And I wouldn't wear it in summer because it's not fresh enough for my liking, and I would wear Missoni Wave or about 100 other fragrances instead in summer. So that kind of leaves spring and fall, those in-between times where it's not hot, but it's not cold either. Has a lot of woods, birch, and grapefruit. I think it really works well for this time, especially if you don't want to commit to something that's on the sweeter end of things yet, or maybe you just have a fall day where it is 50 to 60 degrees out and maybe sunny. You know, you don't want to go for something sweet. You don't want to go for Versace Mano fresh either. This is kind of like a middle ground. And it's another one that's very affordable. I don't know, what is it, like $40 or so? Somewhere around in there. Testers, I'm not so sure about cap-wise. That one might be something to look into. I'm kind of leaning towards they don't come with a cap. So make sure you look into that beforehand. But even at full presentation price, they're under 50 bucks. And I really like it for what it's worth. The price, the performance, the quality, and even the fact that it is kind of doing its own thing a little bit. It's an easy, no-brainer pickup that is a great compliment puller too. We're gonna finish things off with CH Men, the original. Now, this is my old bottle, red ribbon. New ones are essentially the same thing aside from a couple minor differences that aren't worth pursuing. So CH Men, you can get it at 60 bucks on discounters. That's the one to get. Don't go hunting down these old ones. Not much of a point to it. So it has sugar, grass, and a nice wearable leather note. You just don't hear about CH Men these days much anymore. There's word salad there. You just don't. I mean, it's, man, why don't you hear about this anymore, really? It's kind of like when CH Men Privé died, it took this with it, really. I mean, CH Men Privé kind of propped up the CH Men line, and it kind of propped up Carolina Herrera as a really good contender for a designer brand with affordable offerings. But then once they took away CH Men Privé, which is one of the best releases from the brand, and also at the time, one of my favorite designer scents, this one just kind of floated away too, and it just lost its relevancy. Now they have been coming back. They released CH Men Passion, or easier way to say is just Passion, which is what I might just go with from now on. It's a nice iris scent. That one's really good. And so maybe they're starting to come back a little bit. But again, this one, it's so unique. Grass, green, sugary leather. You don't see that every day. And it is perfect for fall. Also really good for spring. So depending on, you know, sometimes spring and fall can be pretty close anyway. You know, because in spring you could have a rainy 60-degree day. You could have that same exact day in fall. In fact, today was one of those days. I went outside expecting it to be cold because it's been cold. And so I had a hoodie on, and then I walked out and it was like a nice warm 67 degrees and cloudy with a drizzle. I'm like, man, it feels like spring. Like it feels like we should be coming out of winter and going out to a nice refreshing spring day. But unfortunately, winter hasn't even started. So that type of weather is perfect for CH Men. A nice gloomy, overcast, and rainy day. Wonderful. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. Some great fall fragrances that are worth blind buying, worth checking out right now before it just gets too cold or before it gets too hot, depending on, you know, people in Australia. It might be too late for you. I don't know. I'll have links to all of these down below. If you're looking for full bottles, check out the links. If you're looking to try before you buy, we do carry a few of these over on decantcenter.com. We got free shipping over $49, free sample with every order. You returning loyal customers, I recognize that, okay, and we appreciate you. And so a lot of times you guys will get a couple samples or you'll get some really good ones. Great rewards program as well. We ship every day of the week all over the U.S., so go check us out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.